Jules. Joining us right now is Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch. Hey, Tom, good morning. Thanks, as always, for joining us.
Hey, you're welcome. Good to be with you both.
Yesterday on the press gaggle, Air Force One, I think this was the most important exchange. Karine Jean-Pierre trying to clean up this mess of the Hunter Biden pardon. And listen to this exchange with the reporter.
He's saying his own Justice Department is broken, Karine.
He believes in the Justice Department. He believes that
After saying all that? He believes in the Justice Department?
This is his words. He said this. This is the president saying
He
this.
just said it's infected with politics.
I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision-making. I kept my word, even as I have watched my son being selectively and unfair prosecuted.
So how deep is the rot? How many selective prosecutions are there at the DOJ?
Yeah, there it is. He just said his own Justice Department is broken. He said it's infected with politics. How deep is the rot? How many selective prosecutions are there at the DOJ? Or is it just your son, Hunter, who never did anything wrong? Wow, Tom, this opens up a whole new line of conversation here, I would think. And you know a thing or two about how this Justice Department's been operating. What do you think?
You know, we have a rule of law crisis here in Washington, D.C., and we have politicians in the White House, Democratic Party, who are all about power politics. And they'll say anything to get past whatever news cycle they need to get past in order to achieve their results. So you have, in this case, the President of the United States suggesting that his son was being targeted improperly by the agency he runs effectively as President of the United States. And we're supposed to believe that is a legitimate excuse for abusing his power to give pardons, to interfere in this process, the sentencing and the jailing potentially of his son, because his agency who did this is out of control. Yeah. And, you know, and there you have the spokesman trying to kind of split the difference there, and no one buys it. And, well, you know, the only selective prosecution was the fact that Joe wasn't selected for prosecution for the crimes involving him.
That's the remarkable thing here. The remarkable thing is that Hunter Biden clearly broke the law and clearly deserves a criminal investigation, and much more so than just the gun charge and the tax fraud questions that have been opened up here. But he uses this idea of a politically motivated Justice Department to give him a fig leaf for pardoning his son. I mean, he's found maybe one of the few prosecutions that isn't politically motivated. But meanwhile, he is right, though. There is something that needs to be fixed there. It's just that his son is not the poster child for it.
And they're complaining that, well, first of all, Hunter pled guilty to one of at least the charges related to taxes. So was that a politically motivated prosecution if he's pleading guilty to the facts? And then secondly, you know, we've got this big issue of the broad nature of the pardon. I mean, forget about the specifics of these two charges, which were narrow and constructed to protect the Bidens. You've got this broad pardon, the likes of which has never been seen before. People point to the Richard Nixon pardon, and I'm not convinced it's the same in terms of being broad. But the idea that you get pardoned for everything you might have done for the last 10 years makes you think, well, what else did he do that he hasn't been prosecuted for? Yeah. So if I'm in the Justice Department and I'm run by an honest group of people, I'd be trying to figure out what went on, because the pardon doing that is dubious and maybe unconstitutional. And I think there needs to be we need to figure out what else happened. Was there something worse that went on beyond what we've been told about, at least through this prosecutorial process thus far?
Tom, do you, one curious thing people were talking about yesterday is the fact that there were no other pardons issued. Do you think, for instance, his brother, Jim Biden, or any other member of the family will receive a broad pardon like what Hunter Biden received?
Well, Jim needs to show up at the White House so he can take control of the White House and issue himself a pardon through his brother. We're all presuming Joe knows what he's doing when he signs on to this. I mean, what makes a lot of sense about the insanity of it is, well, Hunter did it, and he got his father, who doesn't have the mental capacity to make a judgment call one way or the other, sign on to something. And so, of course, it's inconsistent with what Joe Biden said. Of course, they were all lying to us when they were debating internally what to do about the pardon, while pretending he was committed to not doing it. What makes sense is that the family knows Joe's out of it, and they're abusing him and the American people by essentially hijacking the government to issue themselves pardons. So Hunter did it successfully, I would argue. And will the brother be smart enough to move up from Florida and control the White House for a day or two to get Joe to sign on?
That's a fascinating hypothesis. Well, NBC, some of the reports are that Jill Biden was heavily advocating, so maybe she's the one who's drafting these documents and just having Joe sign them. Tom Fitton's our guest from Judicial Watch. Can we pivot here to the full court press against Kash Patel? MSNBC is pretty much all in. It's all Kash all the time. They appear to be outraged that he could be the director of the FBI. What do you know about Kash Patel and what might happen here during his confirmation process, and whether it's going to happen or not?
Oh, my friend Kash is just what the doctor ordered for the corrupted FBI. And he's exposed FBI corruption, deep state corruption. He's got a level of expertise in dealing with the senior most reaches of the deep state and intelligence establishment that makes him a perfect fit for the FBI that pretends it's some type of magical priesthood that can't be interfered with, by, the elected representatives of the people of the United States. And Kash Patel, I believe, if he went in there, is the person most likely to fix the FBI. I don't know if it can be fixed, but certainly to hold it accountable in the least. And his commitment to transparency, integrity, and government is second to none in this town, which is why, of course, this town hates the idea he might be FBI director.
How do you suggest the communications strategy going forward here? Because everything that Kash Patel or future Attorney General Pam Bondi might want to do to fix what is broken in the Justice Department and the FBI, it will all be framed as, they're using their power as for revenge purposes against Trump's enemies. I mean, every single move, that will be the narrative. What's the best way to combat that, or what's the best way to push, or should they just not care and just do the right thing regardless of what people will say?
Well, they were elected to clean house, and they got a clean house. And I kind of have a different view than others may have on this. I think President Trump should take personal ownership of this issue and appoint special counsels, attorneys, and prosecutors personally who report to him in the White House. Justice Department should be investigating the Justice Department. The FBI probably can't be investigating the FBI. We need outside parties doing it. And the president needs to have an independent group that go in and figure out what went on. Doesn't mean that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel don't have key roles to play in doing their jobs under the law. But the president constitutionally has got to make sure those agencies have been operating fairly. They haven't been operating fairly, but hold it fully accountable. And in terms of prosecutions and serious independent investigations, I mean, the Justice Department, if, for instance, if he wants to continue the Biden investigations, part of that investigation is the cover-up by the Justice Department and the FBI. So can those agencies investigate themselves? I don't think they can.
Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch, regardless of how this process moves forward and what work is done at the FBI and the DOJ at the behest of the new president and on behalf of the American people, Tom Fitton's work at Judicial Watch will continue to be vitally important. Tom, always good to talk to you, sir.
Transparency would be great. Thank you.